a young lady that grew up through our church and youth ministry, now serves the Lord in Nepal as a missionary, Natalie Black. And our church supports her. We're the sending church for her. And her parents, Pat and Brenda, got to recently travel and spend about 2 weeks in Nepal. And they've agreed to let me interview them. And so they've consented. Pat and Brenda, if you'd come ahead, please. And we will, as well as we're talking to them, you'll get to see some scenes up on the screen there from them. And so here's one, and then very good. Pat and Brenda, thank you all very much. It was a great time for you guys, and folks will get to see some pictures behind us. So tell us where you were, how long you were gone.
We went to Can you hear me? We went to Kathmandu, Nepal, and we were gone for a little over 2 weeks. I mean, travel was 2 days on each end, so 2 weeks there.
Okay, we kind of looked up together. The size of Nepal is smaller than Kansas, with maybe, did we say 10 times the population, I think?
Yeah.
And Kathmandu, the city, has the population of Kansas City crammed into a small area there. So,
very small.
Is crammed in a good word to describe the?
That's an excellent
Lots
word.
of
Yes.
people.
Very good. Well, much of your time was participating in or watching Natalie involved in her ministry. And so what were some of the things that you were involved in or you got to see her doing?
I'll say probably my favorite thing, I think, for watching Natalie, I'm thinking, you get to see your kids as adults, but you rarely get to see their workplace, unless they work for you. So for us, we were able to see Natalie's workplace, and they do banquet house on Tuesdays and Thursdays, which is a ministry where homeless people come in. I'd say 40 or 50 people came that day. They feed them. Natalie is in charge of a little clinic there, does first aid. And so she's in this little tiny room with this little bitty light bulb, and the men will line up, or ladies, I guess, if they have a medical problem, but it seemed to be mostly men. And they will come in one at a time, and she will treat them. And, of course, she speaks Nepali, so she can speak with them and everything. And it was, I think that was my favorite, was seeing her interact with these people and talk to them. And Patrick and I, we peeled potatoes for people when they were feeding them and stuff beforehand. But I think that was my favorite ministry, was seeing Natalie do that.
And I want to get Pat's comment in a moment, but when you saw Natalie do that, you've told me before she's done stitches and things.
In fact, the day we got home, she sent me a message and she said, "Hey, I did stitches today," because we left on Wednesday, banquet house is on Thursday. And she said, "I did stitches today." And
her training was early childhood education, so I'm not aware that stitches is part of the training there.
Well, I know,
could be involved.
It could be
I know
involved.
one man came in and Natalie was like, "Mom, don't look at his head. He had fallen on a rock or something. It was infected. I could see just when she took the bandage off. It was pretty nasty." And so she went to get Joel, who was one of her, I guess, superiors, and because she thought maybe that might be something she might need to send to the hospital or something. And Joel comes in, and just as he comes in, here came these 3 nurses from Canada. Just showed up with a duffel bag of supplies, and so they ended up treating him, and Natalie just did the interpreting.
Okay. Well, good. Pat, what was something maybe that you saw or some ministry area that stood out for you?
I think the way that she connects with the kids and the homeless people that come to Banquet House. The kids call her Auntie Nat, and they think the world of her, and they have her heart. Just the way that she ministers to them. She helps. It was exam week, which is a big thing for them, and she was helping them study and preparing math for that. And she teaches art there at the school, and just seeing the way she interacted with the kids, and they're orphans, but to have a figure, a grown-up that pays attention to them, really grabbed my heart, the way that she interacts with them and cares for them.
That's great. Now, you mentioned Natalie was translating for the Canadian nurses. She's got the hang of that Nepali language, right?
Yeah.
We never took a taxi ride that there wasn't at least 10 minutes of haggling on the price of the taxi.
She's haggling in Nepali. With
Yeah, they turn
Wouldn't
around
that
and
have
say
been fun?
900 rupees, and she's like, "No, we're paying 300." And they were surprised she spoke Nepali well. And then she got them down to 300 every time.
Yeah, pretty much.
Wow.
Now, she doesn't know all the vocabulary. So, like at children's church, she does children's church. One of the older girls at the home will come and interpret Bible stories because Natalie wouldn't know the Nepali words for a lot of the Bible stories. So she will use one of the young girls to interpret to the little kids for that. But other than that, her language skills are pretty great.
Okay.
I was impressed.
Sure, that's fantastic. You said you took a taxi ride, but Natalie hadn't ridden in a taxi for a while because...
Well, she has a scooter. You need a scooter to survive there because, you can pass cars and get around traffic and stuff. And, it's just one of those, another God thing as well as that. A team had came and they were like, we have this $600 and we want to gift you with it towards a scooter. So she was able to get a scooter that way.
That's great. But if you think of a compressed population density, what does that usually mean for traffic? And she's zipping all over on her little scooter, right?
Yeah, I think that was the scariest thing I did while I was there. She gave me a scooter ride to Beauty for Ashes. We were going to go shopping, and so he wasn't going to go. And she's like, "Oh, Mom, let's just take the scooter." I was like, "Okay." And I know part of the time I just closed my eyes because I had to sit still, because she doesn't ride double a lot. So I'm trying to sit still and think. I can't look at the cars. I mean, a motorcycle did kind of try to cut and pass a bus in front of us, and it did kind of bump us and flip my foot peg up. And I know I was just like, "Natalie, I've lost my foot peg. I can't find it." And so she puts it back there. She's like, "Mom, you're just being a terrible passenger." But I thought I was trying to be really good.
Okay.
So that was a little frightening.
In your defense, that bus was as close as your foot peg.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah, it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
I stayed home and was praying.
Yeah.
Because the traffic, it's the capital for playing chicken.
Yeah.
Because the right-of-way is wherever you drive, and there's about 50 scooters for each car. And what they call roads, I think Greg has better goat paths than they have roads.
Yeah, they're bad.
I'm not joking.
Yeah.
So.
You mentioned Joel, who's kind of the team leader there. Joel and his wife Tammy, did you gain confidence knowing these are the folks looking after your daughter?
Yeah, we really did. As a parent, you send them off and you think they're going to get this out of their system and be home in a couple of weeks. And after a fifth or sixth trip, I thought, that's not going to happen. But no, Joel and Tammy are very organized. They keep really good tabs of the team. They check on each other quite a bit. I'm saying most of this for the aunt's benefit. But I was really impressed with Joel and Tammy. They are there on the ground. They've been there 9 years, and they're vested in the Nepali people. They have a real heart for them, and they do a good job of plugging people's gifts in to where they minister the best. I was really impressed with Joel and Tammy.
Oh, very good. Now there's a team of people. How many would be considered on the team, and what did you learn about the rest of the team?
I'm not sure how many. I would have to count
I was
them.
thinking 11.
They're great people from all over. Some from America. There's
Australian,
a man
Sweden,
from South
Norway.
Africa. His wife's from England. They're just from all over the world, and somehow God has brought them all there together. One girl is a nurse that just came a couple months ago, and one guy, he's a civil engineer. I told him I expected the roads fixed when he came back because that's his research project is the road system. They just all have different gifts, but there's several of them. They meet every Wednesday. They have family dinner, and 2 people are in charge of cooking the main meal, and then they bring things in. So, you get to meet everybody there.
And to check on each other and make sure everybody's needs are being met and that they're getting fed as well.
Okay.
Because they have different ministries, so you might not see them at every activity. Banquet house might be their ministry, or they just all have different ministries. So, but they were all great people.
Natalie's living arrangement.
You may have seen Natalie's house there. It's a 3-story house. She lives on the bottom floor. That's hers, and a Nepali family lives above her. And so she lives by herself now. She did live at the guest house in town, which was like the pastor lived on the first floor, and she lived on the second floor with some other ladies. And then, like, when teams come in, they would stay on the third floor. And she has moved out of that to a more rural setting, felt more like home, I think, than her home. But, she has the whole entire bottom floor, and she has a 2-bedroom flat. And then the landlords are up above. The landlords are great as well. They don't really speak English. Their son is 16. He does most of the interpreting for the parents, but they take care of her too. I seen him one day sweeping her steps off for her, and So that's
They're not
good
believers. Maybe
no, they're Hindu.
Maybe Hindu. Okay.
They're Hindu. So that's different. But I think they know she's a Christian, so that's not a problem for them. But so who knows? Maybe someday they'll become Christian too.
Sure. So she lives by herself. About how far from Joel and Tammy's base? And that's not the same as the guest house where.
Yeah. Natalie sent me a little map up there. You can see the little dots. I think maybe as far as a mile or something. But she's a little over 2 miles from Tammy's. Probably takes you, 15, 20 minutes to get there, And she's about a mile from the kids' home. She can probably get there in 10 minutes on her scooter. And the church is up in Tamel, which is a district where more homeless people live. And it's probably 20, 30 minutes. It's the farthest away to the church, but there is a map up there.
Okay. The first thing that would come to a lot of our minds when we think about Nepal is, Mount Everest, the Himalaya and such. Did you see Mount Everest?
We flew in. Our incoming and outgoing flights were in the dark, unfortunately. So, no, we did not get to see the Mount Everest. But I took a picture out of Natalie's bedroom window. You can see the Himalayas over what they call hills. In Colorado and Tennessee, they call those mountains. They're in the valley, so they call those hills. And then the Himalayas on a clear day were quite visible and snow-capped.
Sure. One of the photos, when you see snow-capped, I thought they were clouds, and I thought you took a picture of the landscape. So if you see clouds come by there, those are the Himalaya range that was 90 miles away. That's them there. Mm-hmm. And you said Mount Everest was 100 miles away. Mm-hmm. And
it'd probably take you a week to get there.
A week to get there, isn't that crazy?
Yeah. Unless you fly. You have to fly to another city, and then you probably still would have to hike to get there. You can see it when we went up on those cable cars. On a clear day, you can see 9 of the 13 mountain ranges. We could maybe see 2. I know you probably think it's just clouds, but there's little peaks up there, and you could see that they were way higher than the hill that we were on top of. But that's the only place you can see Everest from Kathmandu is on top of that hill, but
hill where you were.
It wasn't that clear of a day. They have some pollution problems with the traffic.
Let's just go with it that you saw it.
Yeah, well, Natalie did say, if you ask a Nepali if that's Mount Everest, they're going to say yes, so you could probably say
yes.
you saw Everest.
Most of them don't know themselves.
They don't know for sure which one it is.
We're all in collusion here with the Nepali people that you guys saw.
Yeah, for sure, we saw it.
They saw it. Let's go with that. Good. The atmosphere of Kathmandu, I don't know if it's... What comes to mind when you just think of the city there?
Crowded, a little dirty. Sorry, Nat. Little dirty. But yeah, there's 1.8 million people in Kathmandu, and very little infrastructure. So getting around is logistics is crazy there. But the people themselves are very friendly and gracious people. They seem to me. I got tired of getting our picture taken, an old white-haired guy and a little white girl.
It did happen a lot.
Yeah, it happened too much for Natalie. But very gracious people, though. Yeah. But, me and cities, I'm not about that. But where she lives is a little more, it's not rural, but, there's a field out behind her house. Downside, they did have a water buffalo wander in and knock their scooters over one day because the cows and water buffalo just roam freely.
You described a ring road around the city, what we would think of 435, and the guest house was in the ring road inside, and she lives outside of that.
Yeah.
Ring Road is a nightmare. That's what Ring Road is. And they do have traffic uncles that sometimes will be on Ring Road, and they'll stop the traffic for a while so you can cross if you want to go inside Ring Road.
Traffic uncle. That's a great word for
and
what
they have
we
a little
would call
podium they stand on. Sometimes they're more helpful. Sometimes they
Most
just
of the
make
time
it
was
worse.
more helpful if they weren't not there, honestly.
Have you guys come to terms with your daughter living on the other side of the planet?
I mean, now it took us 30 hours to get there, so that's flying. So we realize it's a long way, and it's 15 minutes shy of a 12-hour difference. So it's like the story, if you dig a hole, you're going to dig to China. Well, I guess we're going to dig a hole, we're going to dig to Natalie. So we realize how far it is. But honestly, for me, with the internet and video chatting and stuff, she really feels closer than she is. When Natalie was in junior high, we went to Ukraine on a mission trip here, and I pretty sure I knew then, someday this girl's going to grow up and go. Her heart was in that village where we stayed. So I think I have had years to prepare myself. I didn't know where she was going to end up, but I knew she was not going to probably end up in America because God had already called her then. So to me, it really doesn't feel that far because, she can call me or I can call her, so it just doesn't feel that far. And I know she's with good people and God's there, so,
Wow, that's great. Pat?
Yeah, I kind of, when she went to South Africa, I guess I knew, this isn't going to wear off. This is what God called her for. And Terry, I sort of blame Joe for that. I did have a little bit of a hard time. Maybe I better not tell that story. But God brought to mind to me when we dedicated her as a baby, that we gave her to Him. And if you're not where God wants you, you're in the worst place. And that's where she's supposed to be.
Wow.
God gave me a peace that, she's in the safest place if she's where. And I've tried to take that into my life, that, where you're at, if you're with God, you're in the right place and you're safe.
Well, that's powerful for all of us. And, like baby dedication, I was like, they meant it. You're giving that child to God. And we have to do that many times. And there's many times we want to grab them and hold them back. And you guys have had to really, really release.
Yeah, you can't, as a parent, you want to raise them to be adults and individuals. And you can't keep them on the back porch to do that. You've got to let them be who God wants them to be, whether it's in Lynn County or Kathmandu or wherever.
Right. To watch her thrive in that environment, what was that like for you guys?
It was kind of cool, but we almost felt like the child, or I did sometimes, because she was in charge of our money. She did all the talking. One day we went to get coffee, and we're like, man, we hope we can figure this out. Get this coffee and buy it and get back with it. Right out of money. So it was just kind of funny. It was almost like a role reversal for a little bit. We were still the parents. But
you can't spend your American money there, so we went and got all of our money's changed into rupees. And here, Nat, you're in charge of the rupees, and then I'm like the fourth grader in the store. I need some money.
Can I have this? Can I have that?
Yeah. Roles reversed a little bit. It was a little awkward.
But you can see that she's so happy, and she loves the people, loves the kids. The kids love her, and you just knew this is where...